a show that covers all aspects of life, relationship, and success. And welcome, Anna Elton, your host. I'm a relationship therapist, sexologist, and we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about life after kids, and most importantly, how to find Mr. Right. Let's welcome our guests, Angela Omoike and her Mr. Right, Hitch. Welcome, guys.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So whoever wants to go first, I mean, this is really relaxed. Who wants to share? Like, I just want to hear about your life, your story, your success in this relationship. And usually women like to talk more.
That is so true.
If you want to go first,
we're both very similar.
Yes, we are.
I'll go first. So I'm Angela, and prior to our marriage, I was married, divorced, had 2 children. I am a registered nurse and a pageant queen, and also a philanthropist in our community in Central Florida. And I'm the owner and CEO of the Lolly Foundation. And so we met at work at the hospital. Yes. And so that's kind of like my prior story. And then I don't know if you want to tell your story and then kind of tell like how we met.
Yeah. So I think I'm Ehijele Omoike, Dr. Ehijele Omoike. I am an anesthesiologist. I was also previously married, and I have a son. And so, because we have a blended family with my son and Angela's son and daughter as well. I trained at University of Florida in Gainesville for my residency. So after I finished, I've been here for almost 20 years now, after I finished my residency. So our story of how we actually met was, again, Angela mentioned, was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And when I saw her, the first thing when I came up to her, I said to her, you know what? One day I'm gonna marry you.
Not like the first time we met.
Not the first time we met, but probably
about like a few months.
Almost after that.
Like after we met.
Yes.
He's like, I'm gonna marry you one day.
And
he's like, I don't know if it's gonna be like a year from now, 10 years from now. And I was literally like, what?
Yes. And also one of my girlfriends was there too. And they looked at each other.
We were like, what's happening?
What is he saying? I said, well, I know it. I just felt it in my heart. I knew it was gonna happen. So.
Yeah. Because I'm like divorcing, he had already been divorced or whatever. And so we were like, I was like, I am not like
thinking that at all.
Not thinking that at all.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, like 2 years later, we got married.
Yes.
Awesome. I love it. Anyway, so I'll start with your husband. I'll start with Mr. Right.
Yeah.
So what did you like about Angela?
I think, besides just her obvious physical beauty, but even just beyond that, what caught her when I first saw her was you just feel her heart. You really can't you see her. Or I saw just beyond just the physical obvious beauty that she has. I just knew she had a heart. Okay, just from the beginning, and I told her that from the beginning, and I keep telling her all the time, like just your heart drew me to you. Because she has this smile, she has a heart, and she just has that caring persona and personality that when you see her, you just know, like, wow, that is one heck of a woman. And that's why I thought to myself, you know what? She has to be my wife. This is the kind of woman I need in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing I like about her.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, incredible. It really is.
I love that. So how about you, Angela? So when you saw your Mr. Right, did you realize that he is your Mr. Right or no?
So not at first. Not at first. No. It didn't take too much convincing, let's be honest there, because he is handsome and he's charming and he has, he's a good dad and he was successful and, grounded but funny, and he has some swag to him, which I love. I probably should have whispered that, but and his energy, like his love for life and his joy. was just like radiating from him, and I felt like he just matched my energy so much. Like we will like bust out in song, bust out in dance,
We do, yes.
like all the time.
Yes.
And we can like sit on the couch and be, you know, comfy, bummy, and then we also like can dress up, and like our kids are literally like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Yep. The favorite part too, they just love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They love to just make fun, like, are you serious right now?
But, so I think he has like the joy of life as much as I do. And he talks about like my heart, and it's like this giving heart, and he's very like kind of like stern. And but at home he's like a big softie.
Like, what was that? I didn't hear that.
Just with us.
Yes,
just with us.
Yeah. Because it's so funny because, you know, she, you know, her personality, we are different different personalities, but also very similar personalities at the same time. It's very, it's very
we both can be stubborn too.
We're both very stubborn. And we always say this in our relationship, and maybe we'll get to this later.
Yeah.
We always say we met at the correct time in life, you know, because going back to that stubbornness, if we met when we were in our 20s, I'm not sure we would have, because we were laughing, smart, and love life, but we are both fire and fire.
Yeah, because you know we've learned so much just from life and previous marriage and stuff like that. So yeah, coming in, I would be like, you know, I think we would just be bombs that would just like, boom. So we met later in life, 100% for a reason. Yeah,
no, that's true.
It's so interesting. So I write for Psychology Today, and I just wrote an article for Valentine's Day. And the article was on recent research, and the whole idea is the right one or the right one for now, right? So we're going through different stages of life, and so interesting. So I was talking to my husband about, you know, when we talked about the article, and he said like, I don't know if I would date you when you were 20. I was like, we met in high school. So we've been dating for over 20 years. So, but it's interesting. We all change, right? We all develop, and you know, like, we just need to make sure that we are the good match for where we are in life, right?
And change is good. You know, there's nothing bad about it, and sometimes you can grow and change like this, and you might go, you know, you might go away for a little bit, as you should, like you're two individual people, but communication, you know, right, is what brings you, you know, together.
So it's so interesting. So I work with a lot of couples, and 99.9% of couples who come into therapy, they say that they want to work on communication. But according to research, what are the main reasons why couples potentially fight and break up? Number one, finances. Number two, intimacy. Number three is the tie between parenting, in-laws, and chores for new couples. I'm just wondering about your communication. As a blended family, I know it's never easy, right? Like when you come as two families together, right? You need to mesh, you need to connect, and you really need to figure out the roles and rules and what's the expectations. How was that connection, or like how was that journey for you guys?
Yeah, I think initially, you know, it was a struggle because we have two other parents who are involved, you know. So, and then how they raised their son was different than how I raised my two with my ex. And so that kind of meshing, there was a little kind of bumpy in the road, but we've kind of both agreed that in the beginning, which is not how we do it now, but in the beginning, that we kind of are parenting and, you know, treating each other's children like our own, you know. Now, again, with disciplining and certain things like that, we would talk about stuff, but like everything was very cohesive. And then as the kids got older, things did start to shift, and you know, we started to have, you know, pushback on a side or two, and so we had to kind of shift over the last couple of years to where, you know, I had to put boundaries in place, you know, really to protect myself and my kids, you know, and our relationship. So to where it was like, this is like your child with someone else. So I need you guys to like do X, Y, Z. And then I'm like the third party who's just helping raise this amazing human. And then same thing for him with my two, and my two are a little bit older now. So, the relationship is different now because it's more like friendly mentorship, I would say, like for at least like our oldest, so I think that was a big deal, but there was a lot of communication. There was, some things that communication was very key in that aspect, because it was like you have to, I didn't agree with everything that he did with his kid, and he didn't agree with everything that I did with my kids. So we had to kind of pivot a little bit.
Which again, that's all normal life. So that's not nobody, even with your ex in the past, I had disagreements with my ex. I'm sure she did as well with her. So that's not a normal thing. And how I approach like a child and how to, for example, parent our children is going to be different from yours, definitely. So those are, I don't know, but what we also do have is we have the foundation for our children, expectations for our children that we both have. Similar is the same. That's the key for Kuru. There's all the other, what I call more superficial stuff, but the basic foundation for our children is the same.
Yeah, like we eat at the table. There's no phones. We have respect. We have communication. We have boundaries. We have rules. You get iPad time or phone time, but also
expectations.
And you have to like root for the other sibling and go to the shows and go to the track meets and go to all these things, kicking and screaming.
Sometimes, yes.
Kicking and screaming. But
it's life. So it has been interesting. And yes, there have been definitely obviously little bumps in the road. We'll be honest, obviously.
Yeah.
There are little bumps in the road, but that's not a surprise to anybody. This is not Pollyanna.
Right.
This is real life. So
and parenting is hard, right? Parenting is hard. And I think, like you said, we have some friends who that's like the only thing that they disagree on is parenting. And it's because I'm taking whatever childhood issues I had and then raising kids with somebody else. And then same thing with you, your childhood things, and then raising a kid. So you have all these dynamics coming together, but our foundations are the same. What we want for our kids is the same. And our love for each other has to be like the main foundation, right? Correct. So I love his son. He loves my kids because we love each other and we, want to make this work. We are making it work. And so, that I think is the largest thing. It was bumps in the road, and it's to be expected. But you have to talk about it and communicate it. And then you both have to be willing to give a little.
Correct.
Because
that's the best lesson I think I've learned because again, we talked about we are both stubborn. But myself, until I met my wife, I think just in life in general, I've been the kind of this what I say is what is right, and what I say goes kind of mentality. Yeah. I always have that kind of mentality.
Yeah, very much like head of the household, do. He's the boss at work, he's the boss at home, he's like this and that. Right. And I was like,
wait a minute.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
No, because this is a team, right? And so at the end of the day, we are traditional and he is the head of the household. But the one thing I said to him years back, and he was like, wait, what? And he was like, I said, we have to agree to disagree. That is okay on this aspect. And he was literally like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, what does that mean?
I'm like, I'm not to be convinced. We're going to agree to disagree.
Right.
And now we do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And it's a very, for me to, and that's why I say, that's how, you know how much you love somebody, because when you're willing to change, not change who you are, but when you see their perspective and understand it, and you say, oh, wow, agree to disagree. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? We're going to disagree. We're going to have an agreement.
Yeah.
But we have disagreements. It's
Sure.
rare, few and far between, but when we have it, we sit, we may talk about it that day or next day.
Yeah.
We say, okay, you know what? One of us like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You sit back and think, and then we talk about it.
Yeah, because ultimately, like when we're communicating or having a disagreement, like I'm not out to hurt his feelings and he's not out to hurt mine. And I know that, you know, so like especially a little bit in the beginning of our relationship, because he is very direct and I'm like so heart sensitive, like I cry at anything.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, could you say it like I need it to be a little less harsh, still honest, but like less harsh, because like my heart can't take it.
But that's one of the biggest lessons I learned.
Yeah.
You know, how to communicate and say the same thing, but in a different manner. Because again, I didn't say when I say it, I'm again that directness.
You just direct.
It's just a direct way of saying things. But then I realized, wait a minute, let me tone it down a little bit how I say it, and
that's worked.
Yeah, it's worked, and it's worked, and not just in my relationship with my wife, but you know, even at work too, because I was very direct, but now I'm like, okay, let me just because people have different the interpretation of how you say things. You know, it's called interpretation. They don't necessarily know what your thoughts are, what your thinking is, or what's the meaning behind what you're saying. But if they take that interpretation of what you're saying as, you know, you being whatever, then that's their reality. Okay, their interpretation is their reality.
Yeah, and then going back to kind of like what you said is like a blended family is like, you know, the foundation for us to have a good blended family. I mean, there's so many things. Like you have to start with like, I know neither one of us, but like you cannot keep holding on to the past and like whether your previous relationship was like good or bad, like there was of course like great moments in my previous marriage, and it ended, and same for his, but like I can't hold on to that. I have to like, instead of seeing it like as a negative, I have to say I learned XYZ. I have my kids because of this relationship. And then I can say what I want to take forward into this relationship, you know, and that a part of that healing, right, is like forgiving myself, right, for maybe making poor decisions, forgiving other people for making poor decisions, because that is what frees yourself from like anger, guilt, resentment. So then you can go into another relationship, you know, healthy, right, and whole. So
Actually, that was well said. That's exactly. I agree on that one.
Thank you for sharing this. If I can ask you to come a little bit closer to the mic.
Yes.
Just a little bit closer.
Okay.
But absolutely, you know, it's never easy, right? It's the process of really adjusting and like learning about each other. But I think what you mentioned was really, really important, right? So you want to make sure when you have a conversation, when you try to have this disagreement, you agree to disagree, but you want to make sure that you are reminding each other we are on the same page, right? We are a team. And then you need to start with a soft startup, right? How do you do this? 4 steps, right? You need to, like, whenever you bring something to your partner, you need to start with something positive, right? You need to start, even if you're upset at your partner, you need to start with something you appreciate or being grateful, right? You say like, hey, listen, I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful for this. And then the second step is to be accountable for your own actions. And I know it's easier said than done, but you need to make sure that you take your accountability in whatever's going on, because it's never 100% on one or another. It's always shared responsibility. And then the third step, you share the hurt. You say like, I feel hurt when something been said or done. And then step number 4, you ask for help. You don't just like go back and forth and nothing happens, right? You want to make sure that you walk out from that conversation, you're being strategic and intentional, and you say like, it is helpful if you do this for me, or if we can try to do this. Whatever it is, you need to let your partner know, like, what do you need? Because when we, you know, one thing that you need to take away from couples therapy, and as a therapist, you need to remember your partner does not read your mind.
Yes.
right? We
Yes.
need to let them know what we want and need from the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, that's such a good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I tell my girlfriends that sometimes, which I think, I mean, we've never been to couples therapy. And I always attribute it to maybe like our age and what we've been through and divorce and remarriage and stuff. And I'm like, we want our boyfriends, our husbands to like know exactly what we want them to do or what them to say or whatever, or how we feel. But like, he doesn't know unless I tell him.
Mhm.
Doesn't know.
Yeah. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm definitely not I'm a horrible mind reader, number one. I'm terrible at getting hints or clues sometimes. I am.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
honest. I'm not a people reader kind of guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
I'm more of I'll just talk and I listen, but
Yeah,
I may not see all the clues and necessarily get all the
Yeah,
clues.
that's
But I'm,
true.
I've gotten a little better, I think.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
in
you have.
general.
That's true.
You know.
No, it has to be like bright blaring
Bright
in
blaring.
front of your face.
Right. I'll be like, okay.
So I tell my female clients, just remember, men, they want to be good.
Yeah,
Think of kids,
Mhm.
clear, effective instructions.
yeah,
That's it. That's all you need to do. Just let them know what you want. They'll be happy to fulfill
Yeah.
your needs and dreams.
yes, that's so true. I
Yeah.
love that.
So just remember, clear, effective instructions. That's it.
Clear, effective
Yeah,
instructions. I love that.
And in the end of the day, the way you think affects the way you feel and affects your actions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Feel like your partner is being good and taking care of you, you feel really warm, and then you say like, hey honey, can you do this? Versus if you feel like your partner is being a jerk, that's how you appear. Like you feel like, like you may be upset, and then that's how you gonna come up to your
Mhm.
partner. So just remember, clear, effective instructions. I know we're in the same team and we want to make this work.
I love that.
Very nice.
I
So,
love it.
and Angela, I know we met through Pageantry, and I want you to share a little bit about the Pageantry, and then your husband's, I guess, part in that. Like,
Mhm.
I guess, what did you feel about Pageantry? Was it like easy, not easy? And I know, like, being a pageant husband, it's not the easiest job. And I just want to kind of hear about your journey. And is
Yeah.
it something, and I know like whenever they say like, well, pageantry is something like every pageant girl would say like, okay, I will never do this again. And then until the next time, right?
Yes. Yeah. You never fully hang up your pageant heels. So I had hip surgery. I had gained weight. I had to relearn like how to walk and just really kind of rely on my husband, my family, friends, and stuff like that. And I went vegan. I also had found out that I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And so once I gained my health back, lost all this weight, I was like, what do I want to do? I had always wanted to be a model or be in like pageants, but I grew up in the 80s and my mom was kind of like, it just wasn't, it was a little nerve wracking back then. And so I had Googled like Mrs. Pageantry, which I wasn't even sure was a thing at the time. And I saw the Florida America system, and their motto is "We are family." And my family really is like everything to me, from like my Wagner women in Ohio to our family in Chicago, all over into Florida. So I was like, I had texted you were at work, and I'm like, what about this? And I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, like go for it. And so I was Mrs. Wesley Chapel, and I was going to compete the year before. I won, and we had some like personal issues, and my son's prom was like that weekend. The date had been getting changed, and I was like, I just can't do it, And so competed the next year in 23, and it was my first ever pageant. I happened to win Mrs. Florida American, and I mean, I just knew going into the weekend. I was already doing a lot of community service work in the community, and I just knew whether I woke up Monday morning as a pageant queen or not, like I was going to be the same person no matter what. I was going to be the same wife and mom and nurse and philanthropist. Like no matter what, because I had a mission. I had like a drive in me to do something bigger and better. I had kind of always thought that I was meant to do more than what I was doing. And my plate was so full. So I'm not even sure how I did more, but I did. So then I won. And I think he, was really like, him and the kids were just like my biggest cheerleaders and traveled with me whenever they could, came to Vegas. I got top 15 at nationals for Mrs. American. And I mean, it was just like one of the best experiences for me because it helped with my public speaking. It helped with my nerves. Believe it or not, I am a little bit shy when I first meet people, which is wild because I can go in front of a stage now and talk to so many people. And I say, I'm like a yes girl, even though now I do say no and it's a complete sentence. But the networking, the people that I have met, you have amazing sisters that you meet that become lifelong friends. And of course, you have people who are, they always say, not everybody's like so nice. And they're right. You're right. Not everybody is so nice, but that's life. That's work. That's everything. Your neighborhood, like that's everything. So to me, it was the best experience of all time. I love it so much. My pageant heels are not hung up yet. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I love it. I love the feeling. I love the feeling of competing and networking and meeting people and, getting my hair and makeup done and, having a fun crown and sash and some sparkle is always a good thing.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because when she first told me she was going to compete in pageant, I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. But I said, yeah, I've never actually watched a pageant in my life.
Yeah.
But I do remember my mom and my sisters watched all the Mrs. America Universe when we were growing up. I just remember the TV being on, and my mom and my sisters glued to it, and they watched it for 2-3 hours. Never saw one episode of my life. So, and I said, okay, let's see what happens. And she started to work. And what I noticed was how much work and she put into the women that she was putting into it, just physically, just mental preparation, emotional preparation, just everything she did. And when she went on that stage, I was just awed with just how fluid she was, how confident she was, and just, and just how accomplished, I know how accomplished she is, but also the other women as well, how accomplished they were. And it was just a new respect. I said, wow, this is not just women just coming on stage.
Like
These
a
are
beauty competition.
like beauty competition. Yeah. These are accomplished women who are like, oh my, they are bad women. Like, wow, this is incredible. Yeah. It's just an automatic respect. I could not believe it. So when I became like the biggest, I think one of the biggest cheerleaders just for pageants, because I see what all these women do, like how much work they put into it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I was so proud of her. And then when she won, of course, I was icing on the cake. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I couldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And bragging. And I became the biggest Mr.
Florida
American.
He sure did.
And I think I really enjoyed it even more than she did.
Yeah. He thinks he's a GQ model.
Yes.
Because we'll get photos.
That, right?
Exactly. So he loved it. He's like, I can see why you guys like this because, he's on like TV and he's like,
No, but it's very interesting. We're also proud of her and just all our compliments. Really amazing.
So definitely an interesting experience as a couple, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's not something we ever thought we'd go through.
No, never.
So when you think of the experiences, right? You want to have the new experiences as couples, and this is something stepping outside of your comfort zone, right? And creating this new experience.
Oh yes.
Yes. For both of us.
For both of us. Yeah. I feel like we both grew so much.
Yeah.
From that because I was traveling, so I was away from the home, and he does not have a flexible job at all. So the one that's normally a little bit more flexible with the kids. And so, he had to I traveled. So a lot actually. Yeah. And so they did just fine. Yeah. And so I think that was good for me. I think that was good for the kids. I think that was good for him to where everybody knew that everybody's going to be just fine without mom.
Right.
You need me. Don't get that twisted. Right. But
well, then the best part is we said we all equally sacrifice because, and unfortunately, typically in general for women, you would do all the sacrificing for family. And this was one time where myself and the kids could sacrifice and say, you know what, she's gonna be gone for a week or weekend. This, but you know what? It's important that she gets to have that year as queen to do all this stuff, to do all these things. But she's touching so many lives as well doing this. I mean, with the philanthropy and all the work she does, it's a lot. She does a lot of work, you know, that I could never even come close to doing. You know, so just so proud of her.
Thanks, babe.
But it's so interesting, right? There's like a couple of things, right? For women, we like to be in control, right? And this is where like we able to let that control go and allow our partners to be in charge and really let them shine, right? That they are capable and we can trust them. But also, like, I'm thinking about the that trustful, right? You know, like when you pull back and you like, you know, that you can trust your partner, that he got it.
And that was because, I mean, you hit the nail on the head because I like to be in control. I like have a specific order for the house, but I feel like it was a little freeing for me to be like, I don't need to like make dinners and freeze them. Like he's capable. Like, you know, you'll figure it out, whether it's grilling or ordering out, like you're going to figure it out. And like, everyone's going to be fine. And at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to do it like me because I want them to know that, you know, that's mom's special way. You know what I mean? So whenever they come home as they grow up, like, oh, I remember my mom doing XYZ, you know, like I'm mom. So, you know, so.
So as you were speaking, I was thinking like, how about kids? Is there anything that they learned from this experience? Is there anything that surprised you by?
Yes. So I would say more, so our, like the oldest is 20 now. And so I think he, in the beginning, I think he really took on like the man of the house role, which I didn't ask him to, you know. I think he kind of just felt that way, and felt some protection, you know, over me. But I feel like you became, you know, more of a friend at first to him. And then now it's like he tells him things that he doesn't, you know, tell me. So they have a really special relationship, which is amazing. And my daughter she's very much like me. She's very like intuitive. And so she has this amazing grasp on what happened in my previous marriage. And we're always have been honest with all of our kids. That doesn't mean they know the full truth, right? But honesty. And she has seen, and she knows how hard that my life has been. I've had a great life, but it's been hard, you know, from even childhood, certain aspects, you know, divorced family and things like that, like a father who was like abusive and, you know, addicted to things. And then, you know, coming now, she writes me notes that Sarah like, just thank you for being you. Thank you for just like working so hard. Thank you for, you know, because I worked multiple jobs at one point, you know, so she's really like my kind of like little soul baby, to where she is just like so grateful and so thankful. And, you know, they're all very appreciative of the life that they have now. It's very, you know, we're very steady. We have a great foundation. We've created a safe home for them, you know, and they see us, you know, laughing and getting along, and they see like small, you know, disagreements also, and then they see that, you know, kind of resolution also. So, and then I can let you speak to Ehijele a little bit. But.
Yeah. So I think for Ehijele, he's the youngest one. He's now 14. So I think, you know, initially he was very young, you know, when myself and his mom divorced. Okay. So, and he's on high, on spectrum as well. So sometimes multiple things. I think his comprehension of what was going on was kind of very confusing, as you expect for a child that young who's on the spectrum as well. So, as he got older, I think he still has he had moments growing up of kind of, wanting his mom and dad to be together, okay, and not to be divorced, of course. So, he would have different, and, he would do fine for a while, and then sometimes he would revert to that and saying, why are mom and dad together for the first few years? It really kind of happened back and forth, back and forth. And I think in the past, couple year or two, I think he's gotten kind of more still where he's realized, obviously, myself and Angela are married forever, and myself and his mom are never gonna come back together. So I think and he's older now, so he's getting to understand that. Now I'm not, sometimes obviously I'm not sure it's 100% still appreciate. He understands it now. He may not completely accept it or 100% accept it, which, yes, I mean, he goes through, he works through that with the therapist. He goes once a week, have the discussions, but he's gotten much better, definitely, with this. So he's still, I would say, still a work in progress, essentially. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, and I think that is normal. With kids on the spectrum, it takes about at least twice as long for them to even learn a skill or just to understand a lot of things.
Right.
It's an interesting fact, though, because he comes to me for all of his questions. He comes to me when he wants to do his birthday party. He gives me his Christmas list, his birthday list. He's like, and he likes me, and therapists in the past have said, like, he really feels actually like the most comfortable with me. Sorry, just because I don't have, like, I'm not mom and dad, right? So, but it's hard for him to show a love for, he doesn't show emotion really hard, that great anyway, being on the spectrum. But therapists have said that he has this love for me, but he still has like an allegiance to his mom, where he feels like he can't maybe do both or say both, which is, that's okay. Yeah. Again, that was one of our blending our family, but at the end of the day, we're all here. We're all here to kind of support him and all of them on their journey, as they come through. But I think it's good. He has called me like his stepmom to like people before, and that's in like the last couple of years. Before it was Angela, so we're making waves. We're making headways. It's progress.
Yes.
And again, at the end of the day, it's about the kids, it's about the family, it's about the love, right? Within the family, it's not a competition. It's more like make sure that you're able to create this safe environment for the family, right? And I think the biggest thing is to break any intergenerational patterns, right? Whatever was not working in the past, want to make sure that you create this new normal and it's healthier for everyone involved. That's the goal.
I agree.
Yeah, that's very true.
So let me ask you, I guess, in the end of the day, like, what would be your best helpful advice to anyone's listening to us? What do you think you took away from this journey, from anything that we discussed so far? From meeting your new partner, right? Your new Mrs. or Mr. Right. Like, what was the most successful and helpful for you so far?
I think, for me in general, I have multiple things. Number one, don't let your past define you. And today and tomorrow is always a brighter day. And it's going to be a brighter day, not just because it's going to be a brighter day, but because you choose to make it a brighter day and a better day for you. Okay. And that's what we choose. We choose purposely. We have a choice. And that's what we do in our relationship. We choose to communicate. Okay. We choose to support each other. We choose to love each other. We choose not to be selfish, we choose to be selfless, So we make these choices consciously because we love each other. Okay. And that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned in my relationship,
Yeah. And I agree with all of those also. And I would say, as I don't know that it's harder for women. I'm not sure. In my case, I would say yes, because I'm more of an emotional being. I hold on to things. I hold on to guilt. I hold on to, you know, I don't really regret things because I always take it as a learning thing, a learning process. But I think for you going into any new relationship, and you've been in a previous relationship, whether that's dating or whether that's marriage, you really have to, one, you have to heal. You have to stop thinking of previous relationships as negative and turn them into a positive. You have to heal yourself because you're not going to be able to be open with your new spouse. You have to learn how to communicate. You have to give yourself grace. You have to love yourself, and you have to forgive yourself sometimes. And one of the things that I did with him, and I'm not saying everybody should do it, but I kind of just said, like, this is who I am, and you can like take me or not. And knowing that setting boundaries and healthy communication, being open about your finances, whether they're good or they're bad, is very, very large, because it has to deal with communication, but also it's like you said, it's one of the issues that people argue about and get divorced over. And so for me, it was just like that, communicating about finances, sex and love and chores around the house, what's to be expected. We both work outside of the home and do a lot of things, but like, I generally cook dinner, he walks the dog, I clean up, he comes back and helps me clean up. Like you have to have this, this home that you've created that's cohesive, but understand that there is going to be bumps in the road. There should be, right? Because you're two different people, but loving each other, and wanting to make it work, it will work.
Yeah.
It will work.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
It will.
I love that. So as I tell my clients, two things you need to pay attention to. Grace, you need to give yourself grace, and your partner, right? It will never be perfect, but you want to do your best job. And gratitude, you want to make sure that you focus on what's going well.
Yeah.
You don't want to say like, well, that one dish was not taken care of. No, you want to look at everything that's been done so far. You want to focus on gratitude, right? So that's what's important. And I think couple of things that like we want to let viewers know that I always I'm a big advocate for 5 love languages, right? What are the things that's important to you, right? Think of words of affirmation, right? You want to make sure that you always let your partner know that they're special and you care for them, right? You say like, hey, you look so hot. To spread the compliment, say thank you. Say out loud when you notice that your partner is doing something well, because what happens, we sometimes notice it, but we don't say it, especially in a long-term relationship. Just like next time when you notice like, hey, my husband did a really, amazing thing here, like say thank you. Like when you notice your wife is, having a new hair color, you say like, that looks nice. I like that. Keep noticing those things, little things, right? So number 2, we need to make sure that we focus on acts of service, right? We want to work as a team. We want to help out each other. It's not a competition. It's not a score. Who is doing better or worse? This is our joint effort. We are the team, right? I feel like a lot of couples who have a lot of conflict, they forget about the teamwork. Right?
Yeah.
So physical touch, my favorite, right? This is sexology expert, right? Physical touch is important, and we're not focusing on quantity, we're focusing on quality, right? As long as we connect with each other, right? And it's not about intimacy or sex per se, right? It's about hugging each other, kissing each other, showing touching each other. There's new research showing that so the 2024 research, it's really interesting. So the sports psychology, right? The teams who play better in sync as a team, they touch each other more. So to be a better team, you just need to touch each other.
Yeah.
Another thing I always tell my couples, 20-second hug. Whenever we hug someone, 20 seconds, the person who is giving you a hug and the person who is accepting hug, receiving endorphins and oxytocin, is the bonding hormone, the love hormone. That's when we feel connected to our partners. Another one is a 6-second kiss. So when we kiss, like prolonged kiss will help us to be connected to our partners. So don't forget about like giving that kiss as we used to, right, in the beginning of relationship. That prolonged hug, a little playfulness, right?
Yeah.
It helps. So what else? I mean, gifts, right? Sure. Whatever like makes you, like when you go to the store and you see like, you know, something that your partner would like, maybe get it for them, right? It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something small, but meaningful.
Yes.
So what else is important? Quality time, right? We want to make sure that we're able to identify what is quality time for both of us and make sure that we incorporate it. Because in long-term relationships, what do we see? That we go on dates, we try to go on dates, but it's more food related. So there's no novelty, there's no excitement, right? We just go to get the food and that's it. Make sure that you have new experiences. So I tell my couples, okay, so what you can do, and maybe you can do this as a challenge.
Okay.
Think of alphabet dates, A through Z dates. So take the alphabet and make a list together as a couple, A through Z, all the dates they can do as a couple. So for example, A is X throwing.
Yeah.
It's bowling. I don't know, like M is movies and massage, whatever you want to do, like whatever you can do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Go on. So whatever you want to do, just make that list and just make sure that like whenever you want to go on a date, just pick one and have that experience as a couple.
I love that.
Very nice. I love that. Love that.
So you have the homework.
Okay.
Accept.
Yeah. We love a good date.
Yes,
so
we
this
do.
is
Oh,
perfect.
yes, we do. We do. That's one thing you also. That's one thing you have to make time to date, and that's one thing we do purposely and consciously. You know, we have busy lives, busy careers, busy children, busy everything, but we say, all right, go date time, date night, date afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, so you have that's important, huge.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your awesome story, and I'm sure a lot of viewers can resonate with your story and take something away from this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here with us, and I hope you able to learn and share. And thank you, Angela and Mr. Wright.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and stay tuned for more.
Okay. Thank you.
you.
Okay. Bye bye. Thanks. Bye bye.